Hey, Road Warriors and Care Crew. Welcome to the Care in Motion podcast, the new home for the home health clinician. We're going to talk through stories and tips around safety, efficiency, clinical issues, and career pathways, all from the perspective of a few road warriors just like yourself to provide their insight. Our goal here is that you'll find this weekly podcast helpful, relatable, and interesting, but most importantly, wildly entertaining during your daily drive. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Care Motion podcast this week. I'm Dan Haggerty with Care Motion, and we've got Dan and Lisa and Brendan and a special guest tonight, Tiffanie Wright. Tiffanie, did you want to introduce yourself? We'd love to hear a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm an LPN with a home health company in South Carolina, and I've been doing home health for going on 7 years.
Oh, that's great. Where in South Carolina? I'm in Charlotte. I'm right
Oh,
there.
okay, cool. So I'm in the CSRA is what we call it. So we're super close to Augusta. We just calmed down from the Masters chaos. But we're on the South Carolina side. So we're in the Midlands. Not too far. We're kind of close of everything, but no one really knows where we are except for 1 month out of the year.
Yes.
That affects your driving.
Just
Yeah. We stopped school for 2 weeks for the Masters because they don't want school buses on the road.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, I know that Lisa had the two of you had kind of coordinated. So I assume you're on the Home Health Chronicles as well.
I am. Yeah, we had a meeting this morning, and we kind of like go through her post in our morning meeting, and we like crack up for a solid like 15 minutes, and then we get to business.
So last week we were just talking about how Dan and Lisa kind of rose to fame. No pun intended, Dan. Rose to fame through social media. So it provides a lot of lighthearted laughter. So
yeah,
but awesome. Yeah. So, Lisa, I know you guys had a chance to, just think about a couple of different topics that would be great, to get the nursing perspective on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have, of course, 3 home health PTs on here, and we always like to get a nursing perspective because I know for me, I always say like therapy is great in home health, but man, you nurses have it worse. I think, but because really like your on-call schedules. And so what's kind of like your typical day in home health, like the pros and cons that you kind of see and what brought you into home health?
So a typical day, I usually try to get started. Like I would love to see an 8 o'clock patient. I live for that. Like the earlier I get started, the earlier I stop.
Don't we all?
Yes. Like if someone agrees to see me at 8, you're automatically my new favorite. Like we're besties.
Every day of the week you want to be seen? Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I'll be there Friday at 8. So I really try to get that done. I don't love to work past 3 just because I like to get my kids from school and we have soccer, we have flag football, we're in dance. So I usually try to see 7 to 8 visits a day. Sometimes it's 9. Today was a 9-day. So I'm really just like, I'm out peopled. But it's usually, it's pretty easy. Most of my patients are wound patients. It kind of goes in like seasons, we'll have a lot of trach patients and then a lot of wounds, and then we'll have just, a lot of education. But I kind of just got into home health. I was sick of like the hospital. I was sick of like skilled nursing facility and like the long hours, and who wants to work 12 hours anymore? So, the call schedule, I don't really mind. Our company, we do one call like day a month, and then we have a call weekend where we are on call for a Saturday. So it's not really bad. I don't mind it.
Have you gotten calls at like 3 in the morning or 5 in the morning or 10 at night?
I have not got them early in the morning. Like, thank God I don't. That's my fear, that I'll wake up and answer a question in my sleep. And then, the next morning someone's like, well, you told me to super glue my wound,
Yes, I did.
But 10 o'clock at night, we've had those.
And you talk about wounds being extensively what you treat, right? That being said, do you have set bags? Do you have one big bag with all like what kind of stuff are you carrying with you?
So I have like one bag that I kind of keep everything, like an extra set of everything. So
Mhm.
tape measures, Q-tips, tape, gauze, all that good stuff, just like the basics. Now like my patients who have wound vacs, we of course keep all that in the home for them. I do keep an extra kit with me in my bag. Just there's always that one person who, well, I don't have any kits. I don't want to be the one person to have to call the doctor and say, I don't, I can't fix this. So I always keep like tons of gloves, mask, because some wounds are just nasty.
Mhm.
I keep Vicks in there so I can like rub it in my mask.
Mhm.
Or BioFreeze works really well too, but it's, expensive.
On your
So
face?
no,
No.
I'll like put BioFreeze in my mask and then
Oh,
put
okay.
another one on. Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
It's funny. We have been brainstorming a couple of different, like we call them home health essentials kits,
Mhm.
of all the different things that we needed. One of them was a smoky house kit that we're building, and it's like the Vicks came up in that one, but we hadn't talked about BioFreeze.
Yeah, I was 9 months pregnant during the pandemic and I had
Mm.
to my doctor only gave me approval to work if I wore two masks at a time. And now looking back, it was ridiculous, but I would have to take like one mask and just like pretty much just dip it in the biofreeze and then put another on top, especially in smoky houses. But I survived it. So now it's kind of my go-to.
That's intense.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you interact with the other disciplines that might be in the house? Is there a lot of coordination?
So we do like a team. So each team has a case manager, a PT, a PTA, and LPN, and we each have like a group message. And so we'll say, "Hey, I'm going in." I'm usually the early bird, so I'll say, "Hey, I'm seeing this one at 8 o'clock on Monday. When are you coming in this week? When can I put it on their calendar for you?" And
Oh,
that works really well for us.
What's one
schedule
thing
for
that
you.
you wish was better in that situation? Like, is there one thing that you're like, God damn, I wish you would have told me, or anything like that, like as you're going through your visits?
Sometimes, yeah, there's some stuff that comes up and it's like, how was there no communication there, or,
Mhm.
um, you
Such
know,
as what? Like what things are you speaking of?
so like, you go into these houses and there's, the patient lives with like four family members and you go in and they're all chain smoking. And it's like, someone could have said that. And then I would have suggested like, it's a beautiful day. We should really visit outside.
Mhm.
And then I'll get on the group text and I'm like, are you kidding me? Not one of you thought to tell me that. And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot. My scrub smelled so bad. I'm like, yeah, that would have been nice to know.
Go to the back door and knock 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like
Gate code.
Monday I showed up at a house, knocked on the door, no one's there, no one's there. Finally like call and they're like, oh, I'm staying at my sister's. I told the PTA and I call. And I was like, "Hey, what the hell?" And he was like, "Oh, my bad. I thought I put a note." And I was like, "No, but also this is why we have the group text. Just put it in here."
Yeah.
You know.
I think we've all run into that at some point of we show up for something and it's like, oh, that would have been nice to know ahead of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
They're not here.
exactly.
They're in the hospital.
Yeah.
Whatever
That's
it
the
may be.
worst. Yeah, that's the worst. Or when you show up and you're like, "Hey, I'm here to see Miss such and such," and they're like, "She passed last week. We told the social worker." And I'm like, "Oh, well, this is awkward. I'm gonna go."
Yeah. How do
That
you
was a
God
how do you handle
bless, and I'm
that?
out.
Yeah. I'm like, "Well, I'm very sorry. Okay, have a good day, I guess." It's just really awkward.
You just don't know what to say. It's just like I'm just gonna
Exactly. You
leave
don't
now.
know. It's like, well, what do you say? But then you don't want to stand there. So it's just weird. It's like those things. It's like it takes 2 seconds to send a text. Just do
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Um, what is so one of the previous episodes we talked about like continuing education. I mean, you're obviously doing continuing education too. Do you ever find yourself, wanting more, or are there specific courses that you'd go to? Like what do you do for continuing ed?
So I actually just did wound certification to be like a certified wound nurse
Okay.
with home health, and that was actually most continuing ed, you're just like, yeah, I get it. It's kind of boring, but this one was super informative. I actually really liked it. At first I was like, I don't really know if I want to do this because now, my branch director's like, but you're a certified wound nurse. You can do it all. And I was like, but I don't want to, I don't really want to go all out of my territory. But it was a cool thing to do. And so now I don't really mind helping other nurses, like kind of show them how to do different wounds and different wound vacs.
Do you find that some of those like certification courses don't always apply to home health?
Oh, 100%. I feel like it would probably be great if we had just a home health person in those courses, like helping write those courses, because I feel like working in a hospital or a setting where you have someone you can go grab and say, "Hey, help me out here," is
Mhm.
totally different than being in your car by yourself or in a home by yourself. You're having to take your gloves off, get your phone. Hey, help me. What can I do? I think it would be so, so helpful to have someone that's based in home health do those courses.
Because there's so many different, like, you're not in a nice hospital setting and in a nice hospital bed. You're in like this home and you only have the recliner chair and the floor is dirty and you have to be down and you're like lifting up a leg and it's just
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
trying to take a picture and
Yeah.
to find ways to do that in the home setting. I
Yeah.
Telling
find
the
that a lot with
telling the
therapy.
husband with dementia, call 911. He's like, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's one of the reasons that we founded Care Emotion, was because when you look at all the different resources out there, and I don't know if you're part of any like online, or not online, but like social media groups. Like there's a lot in therapy. On Facebook, for example, there's like the PTOT SLP collaboration group, and you can see everyone's trying to work and interact with each other to get information and advice and ideas, and what's the best way to handle this or that, and everything that's sort of like formally out there is not necessarily for home health. So that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons that we wanted to build this, was to create sort of like that hub, for everybody that's dealing with all the same stuff that doesn't seem to be addressed out there.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think everybody who's thinking about home health or been in home health for 10 years or 20, it's super. I think it's great, and we needed this such a long time ago.
Yeah. Is there any like really big challenges that you have being a nurse in home health?
Um,
Or
I
just
would
in
say
or just in
probably
the
the
home health setting in general, not just being
Yeah,
a
just
nurse, but
setting
just
in
in general in
general.
the home health setting.
yeah, probably the biggest challenge we have is getting providers to call us back.
Mm.
You call about a medication and then they call 7 days later, and it's like, well, now I'm kind of asking for forgiveness and not permission because I couldn't
Mhm.
not do anything for 7 days. You know what I mean? Um, and I know that there's some clinicians that are like super by the book and they call for everything, they have a headache. What should I do? What should I do? And so some providers are like, oh, it's home health. We're not returning that phone call.
Mhm.
Um, that's just so frustrating. And I do feel
Mhm.
like I wish more providers understood actually what we do as home health clinicians and understood how valuable our time is. I know a lot of people say, oh, you're in home health. You have so much free time. Well, yeah, you may think that, but we spend a lot of time documenting and we spend a lot of time talking to providers and talking to
Mhm.
families. And so I kind of wish that one person in every office was like, okay, I'll just kind of deal with home health and, help navigate those patients at home, because I feel like a lot of time it's like a misconception that, we have it really easy, and that's so far from the
Mhm.
truth.
Yeah. I think
You-
I had one time I was doing like a physical therapy admission, and we on the admission have to enter in all of the medications. And I had a few like severe like one interactions where they were contraindicated. And so I'm like, I'm calling the doctor and saying, hey, like I reviewed these medications and these two medications they're taking, they are contraindicated, and I have to let the doctor know. And the lady on the phone was like, but you're a physical therapist. Like, why are you calling me about medications? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
this is what we do in the home health setting. Like, we're seeing the patient as a whole and we're reviewing all of these things. And I had another admission just recently where she was on like 5 hypertensive medications, and she didn't know which one she was supposed to take. She went to the hospital. They changed a bunch of her medications. Some weren't. Some that she was taking was not on her discharge paperwork. And I'm sitting there like, I need a nurse in here to like really review all of this. And the doctor wouldn't make any recommendations because they are not seeing her until like 4 days later. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, her blood pressure is 100/60, and she's taking 5 hypertensive medications that are prescribed to her. Like, and it's out of my scope to tell somebody like not to take a medication, right? Like, I can only advise what's on the discharge paperwork, but it's like, I got a nurse in there. I was like, can you go tomorrow and see if you can help? Because
Yeah, that's so frustrating.
I don't know if you run into that a lot too, of like,
yeah, we'll call providers and say, this person was just discharged and this is X, Y, and Z. And like today, I had a patient post cabbage, wears a life vest. He said he misplaced the parts to his life vest. And I was like, does that mean the battery? Like, what are we saying here? And he's like, I think the battery. So I spent like 30 minutes searching his house with him. We couldn't find a battery. So I said, well, we'll call the cardiologist. You don't follow up until the 9th, but you have to wear the life vest. I called the cardiologist. They called me back at like 4:50 and said, we didn't know he had a life vest. And I was like,
Nice.
okay, well, he does, and he's not wearing it. What do I do? And they're like, we don't know. But I need some direction.
He got it from Amazon.
Yeah, right. I'm like, well, where'd it come from? They're like, check the hospital. And I'm like, have you ever called the hospital for a patient who's not inpatient and ask a question? Are you kidding me? So, it's just frustrating when these people come home and like you said, they're taking meds that aren't on their discharge summary and you don't really know what to do and we can't tell them not to take it. And it's almost kind of like your hands are tied.
How do you feel about being a new grad going into home health, or like how much experience do you think a nurse should have before they go into home health?
I kind of, I'm like on two ends. I feel like, if that's the first thing you do, then that's kind of will be all you know. But then I feel like you have to have, because you're by yourself, you have to have such like resources. You have to fast think, and you kind of have to be like quick to be like, okay, how do I fix this and fix this fast? Because we're not in there with them for 3 and 4 hours, it's okay, you got a 30-minute visit, what can I fix in 30 minutes? And it's usually just one thing, but they usually have a list of things that we need to fix. So then that's where I think, okay, maybe we should work in the hospital for a while, work in a skilled nursing facility, and get those kind of like normal skills under your belt. So then when you are in home health and something happens or you walk in and someone's fallen or crashed or coded, you know what to do. Because being by yourself and dealing with that is totally different than having a team behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking, or go ahead, Brenda.
I was gonna say, if with your 7 years of experience, Tiffanie, if there was like one thing you could share, like being a clinician in the home, like what is one thing that you think is important to have success? What's one thing that if I do this every day, whether I'm a PT, OT nurse, or whatever, I want to have success as a home health clinician? Because I think a lot of times people struggle. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're on an island there, and sometimes there can be days where it's like everything's not working the way. Like, so what's one piece of advice that you think, hey, if you do this every day, it will be okay?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you just got to be confident. You've got to know that you trust enough in yourself that you're making the right choice for that patient at that time. And you can't really second guess that. It's easy to do and say, I should have done this or I should have done that, but you're right. You're all by yourself. You have your phone. You can call. You phone a friend. But right there in that home, you've got to be confident that you have the skill set and you're making the right choice and you're going to make it happen for that patient at that time.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Or fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. We've all done that.
Well, but the other thing is too, to kind of go with that, Lisa. We see these patients. I mean, you're seeing a wound how many times a week? 3, right?
Well, she's certified.
No, but I'm saying like seeing a wound care patient. How many times a week are you seeing them?
So We can see them up to 3 times
So,
a
so
week.
what my point is that maybe you don't know the answer at that time, but you can go back and go to one of your educators at your, or a colleague or somebody else at that point in time, and kind of get back to it. You have a temporary fix or a temporary thing, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think the last thing I think is really important what you just said, because like if you're showing on like misunderstanding, is that patient going to believe in your ability as you move forward with them? And I think
Exactly.
one of the things in home health, maybe I'm not the best clinician, maybe I don't give the best exercises, but if that patient believes in what I'm doing, I think I'm gonna have a lot more success than anybody else that's trying to go work with them. You know what I mean? And I think that
Yeah.
relationship is huge, and that confidence is what you're leading to.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
I love
important.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I've got
you
a
would
quick question. Oh, go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead, Dan.
No, I was just going to ask a quick question about scheduling, because I know that the nurses that I work with, I feel like one of the luxuries I have as a therapist is I can tell my patients, okay, I'll be here Thursday at 9 a.m. And unless there's a curveball or cancellation or hospitalization, like I'm going to go there at 9 o'clock. I know that for the nurses, sometimes they don't get their schedules until 9, and because there's constant triaging of like, this one was hospitalized, we need a resumption of care on this one's being recertified. So is that a challenge for you in your day of like being like plucked from here and then going to there and having to bump here, and how do you deal with that?
So that used to be a big issue. My company now, we have only the RNs who do start of cares, only do resumption of cares. So their schedules are kind of open as far as they'll have 2 socks a day, and then they have that wiggle room for those, at 9 o'clock at night, there's a text, hey, we need to go rock this patient, the
Mm-hmm.
next day.
Yep.
Whereas on every Saturday, I can see my whole caseload for the next week, which is really nice. So I'll schedule mine by zip code, or kind of try and not go far,
Mm-hmm.
um within 20 miles for each, from start to finish, and try to do that Monday through Friday. Now,
Mm-hmm.
prior to that, when we did have to do like go in for the resumption of cares, or hey, this one had a fall, we need someone to go check.
Right.
Well, I happened to be in that zip code the day before, and now I'm going to have to go back in there when I'm 45 miles away. That's a challenge.
Yes.
Once you've already called and scheduled patients, and you've got to call and say, hey, I need to move you around. And, that's probably the most aggravating thing.
Yep.
Scheduling in home health is not for the faint of heart.
100%.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think it's like thinking on your feet. You got to be quick on your feet, right? You got to know, hey, who's that patient I can call, or what can I do to make this work right now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think we've talked about in the past about having those, patients that they say, hey, I'm always home. And you're like, besides for that 8 o'clock patient, I love the patient that says, hey,
Yeah.
I'm here. Call me when you need me. Like that's
Yeah,
it.
no kidding. Those are my very, very favorite. You have
Mm-hmm.
something come up and you're like, hey, I had something come up. They're like, listen, I'm always home. Just
Yeah.
show up and I'm here. And I'm like, do you want a coffee? Like, you want a donut?
Yeah,
I'll
those
bring
are
it
the
on my
ones like, what do
way.
you want? You want me to
Right.
bring you something?
Yeah, do
Yeah.
you like, I mean, I've had like, I'll bring you a pizza. You haven't had pizza in a while. I'll bring you a slice of pizza. Just because you have those who are just so particular and no, that
Yeah.
doesn't work. And you give me like a 45-minute window to see you. And so you can't ever
Mhm.
call those on a drop of a hat and reschedule. You know who you can and who you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know you're just watching The Price is Right. Okay. Like,
Exactly.
please, can I just come? Like,
It's up to
Exactly.
TV.
Mhm.
Every other game show network too, or it's the Jerry Springer or Maury or whatever else they want.
Exactly. We have a PT who tells our patients, and he's kind of infamous for it, and he will tell them, would you call and cancel your doctor's appointment for Price is Right? Then I'm
right.
coming during the Price is Right. And they're like, he says that to me every week. And I'm like, well, he's got a point.
Yeah. Or you can record The Young and the Restless. Like you can watch it when I leave. I promise.
Exactly. We'll just have to teach him how to like DVR and go back and watch it.
Right.
Speaking of scheduling, we had a previous episode where we talked about best practices for interacting with your back office and kind of befriending your scheduler,
Yeah.
back at your agency. Do you have any suggestions for everybody on how to kind of get the the best relationship built with that team?
Like I said, we have the group chat, and we kind of, our schedulers are great. we got a new one and we had to kind of introduce her to the crazy. And we were like, hey, we're going to put you in this group chat, but what we say in here stays in here. Like, can we trust you? And she was like, okay. And I was like, but I'm warning you, it's crazy. So once we got her in there, so now we can kind of just shoot off a text. It's so much easier to just text and say, hey, schedule me this person, or hey, do this. I feel like we're in our cars, we're on the go so often. We don't have time to like get out our tablet and pull up our email. So it's just so much easier to just text and say, hey, make this happen. And it's boom, boom, and it's done. So I think that's just great. If you can have that type of relationship with your team and, just kind of all be in a group text together, that works so well. It's kind of seamless. Everyone is on the same page. You can't really say, well, I didn't know about that. And it's like scroll back 50 messages. It's there.
Speaking of cars, you said like that's our mobile home, right? That's where we are.
Yeah.
And so, what are some things that you have in your car? And obviously, you have like your wound care supplies and stuff. But is there any other things that you're like, hey, I need? I mean, all right. For example, we've all talked about this. They all know, but I have a gallon-sized water bottle. I need that gallon-sized water bottle.
Yes.
But like, what do you need to have success on your daily basis in your
I
car?
I have to have my water bottle. I have to have a phone charger. I have to have Febreze. I have to have dry shampoo. Um, and I have to have an extra set of scrubs. And if I don't, it's just, who wants to go home in the middle of the day? Because it never fails. You don't have your extra set of scrubs and something happens. You're in a really stinky home, or somebody's dog jumps on you with mud, or you sit on a wet sofa, and then it's like, I
I've
can't
done
spend the rest
that.
of my day like this.
That is such a good idea. I've been doing home care for 20 years and I've never carried a second pair of anything. And that's maybe just the fact that I'm just
You're
disorganized.
gonna
I don't know,
pinch
but
yourself.
I'm so impressed. I know. I love that.
You have a nice Yankee candle there, though.
I do. Air freshener. I got
Candles
5 pack at Costco.
That's smart. I'm gonna get one of those.
Yeah, Costco has this 5-pack, or they did,
Yeah.
of little like Yankee Candle air fresheners. I have it just hanging. Stan does
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get some of those. That's a good idea. We have company cars, and so like
Oh,
I'll take my kids to work, or like to school in the morning in my car, because I'm immediately leaving, and my kids get in it every day and they're like, it stinks so bad in here, Mom. And I'm like, this is just the car. Imagine what it smells like when I go places. And
Blame
they're
the
like,
patients, not me.
yeah, they're like, can we please not ride in this? It stinks bad in here. And I'm like, guys.
So,
Get your
I
mask
know
on with
we asked
BioFreeze,
you.
kids. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Put on your mask with your Vicks.
Exactly.
I know we asked you anything you'd like to see from the therapist, but maybe I'd ask the 3 therapists here anything that you'd like, to see from nursing. Just kind of flip it a little bit.
I think, I feel it shouldn't be this way, but you guys are the key communicator, right? I mean, you drive a lot of what's going on, and I mean, we're playing off you. You normally are having most of the conversations with doctors, physicians, but you know what I mean? Like we will go off you. So if that communication's not happening, I feel like it's a big problem sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where things kind of can go down the wrong wire. And I think exactly what you said, having that ease of communication, whether it's a Teams chat, a group chat, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
it's really crucial. I mean, because otherwise that's where, we talk about quality of care all the time for patients, and that's where you start to lose it because, I didn't know. You hear those excuses, and it's like, no, that's not it. But I mean, that's one thing I appreciate you guys for as much as what you do every day. Dealing with everything else that you spoke of, needing necessary scrubs for those reasons. Like, yeah, I don't have any envy of what you guys do on a daily basis. I just
yeah.
say that.
We appreciate y'all like crazy. Absolutely.
Thank
We
you.
do.
We honestly, I couldn't do my job without the PT. The PT in my area, he's great. We love him. We used to joke that he's our slacker. He's really not. It's only because in our group, I'm like, hey, I got the doctor on the phone. What do you need? And then he'll send me like paragraphs, and I'm like, can I three-way you in? But it's one of those things. He's a really good communicator, and he actually started our group chat.
Oh no.
And so I kind of like I bow down to him for that, because it's so easy to just go in and say, hey, this is what's going on with this patient this week. And we all are there. We all have that info. And so
Yeah.
I think that was just great that he did that for us. And, it's just easy. And we need easy in home health.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Communication, like when you're communicating with the nurses and therapists and the other team, it makes the patient feel like everybody's on board, right? Like when I go in, I'm like, hey, the nurse saw you yesterday, and this was something with your medication. Like, did it come in from the pharmacy? Right? They're like, oh, yeah, no, it came last night, and then I can just add in the medication, right? But it looks like we're all on board and communicating versus like, oh, hey, did they see you yesterday? Like,
Right.
anything happen?
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing is communication. It just can make our jobs both just so much easier.
Yeah. 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah, the facilitating of discharge. I mean, because we've all been there where like you get into a patient's house and they're like, yeah, it's just you now. And I'm like, wait, everyone discharged? wait, what? That like,
Yeah.
who sent the nom knock? And it's like,
Exactly.
and so we've all been there, but it just speaks to the point that communication is just so key, because we're a team, like we're a community, like we want to be like building each other up and not like thinking like resentful thoughts of, oh my gosh, I can't believe they left me hanging, right? So it's just huge.
I think it's always a joke whenever like we're doing the Oasis, and it's like like I have some OTs and nurses like, sorry man, you're getting the Oasis. I'm like it's all good. Like everyone's got to do them. So I mean, it's gonna happen. This time I got it, next time you got it. But I think just knowing that I have it though helps me to go in knowing, hey, I gotta hit all these things. So.
Well, Tiffanie, thank you so much for joining us today. We've gotten feedback like, hey, wait a minute, like what about the perspectives from OTs and speech therapists and nurses? So it's just great to have that nursing perspective and kind of share that and understand all the similarities and some of the differences and whatnot. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And again, definitely be sure everybody to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Follow Dan Catuccio and the Home Health Chronicles too for Dan and Lisa. And be sure to check out the website. It's careandmotion.co. We've got a ton of free resources there. Sign up for our weekly newsletter that's starting. And also we've got the Care and Motion shop, where we're starting to pull together all of the things that everybody out there needs that they can't seem to find in one place. So appreciate it. And Dan and Brendan, Lisa, thank you guys, of course, every week. And we will see you next time.
Bring your second set of scrubs. Don't forget them.
See ya.